You're listening to the REI Marketing Nerds Podcast, the leading resource for real estate investors who want to dominate their market online. Dan Barrett is the founder of AdWords Nerds, a high-tech digital agency focusing exclusively on helping real estate investors like you get more leads and deals online, outsmart your competition, and live a freer, more awesome life. And now, your host, Dan Barrett.
Hey guys, welcome back. You're listening to the second part of last week's episode. Let's jump back in.
So let's take a step back. First of all, I mean, the story is awesome, and I completely second your thing about masterminds. I've mentioned this a couple times.
It's the only way I've ever been successful is by copy and pasting other people who are smarter than me.
It's swapping notes and learning from other people's experience, right?
Or pay somebody who's better at you at that skill set. Like for you, for example, it would be PPC.
Yeah.
You understand PPC very well, the in and outs of it. Like, I wish I would have just paid you in the beginning instead of like spending 50 grand, 80 grand, 100 grand, whatever it was I spent before I go, oh, maybe I should pay someone to teach me this.
Yeah. Well, and it literally is like, you know, I am in multiple sort of groups, industry groups, masterminds, right? For real estate investors, for agency, but basically for anything that even remotely applies to what I do, right? And even the ability to just ask a question of someone who is also going through what you're going through, I feel like is like a relatively life-saving thing to have as a entrepreneur, right? So it's a lonely job a lot of time. All right. So, but beyond that, okay. So we kind of hit on this earlier. I have a million questions, but here's my first, right? So let's really define our terms. So novation, you kind of said it's like essentially, is it we're locking up the deal more or less like we would any other wholesale deal, but on the back end, it's different because rather than going to, you know, as a wholesale, for example, to someone who wants to flip the home, I'm listing it on the MLS and just selling it on the open market. Is that the basic difference, or is there more sort of nuance to it than that?
There's more nuances underneath all that, and it all lies in the paperwork, but that is the basic 30,000 foot overview, is that you're listing it on market to a buyer who's got conventional financing. Even sometimes with FHA buyers, we've novated to FHA buyers, but know that if you're going to novate to an FHA buyer, the house has to pass the financing contingencies, meaning the inspection period, whatever the inspector finds in the house has to be done if you're going to novate it to an FHA buyer. So we have done it to FHA, but I have a very high risk tolerance. So I don't mind like basically flipping a house across the United States. It doesn't bother me. I can do it. But just know that going into that, if you're going to do this nationwide virtually, we try to stick to conventional buyers, conventional finance buyers who are going to put 20% down, because then everything's negotiable. The inspection repairs is negotiable. You can do credits. Everything is, and it's and that's how we did it. Yeah, that's the kind of 30,000 foot overview.
And do you feel like this is a thing that works best at the national level? Do people do it locally as well?
Both.
It's just more of a
works great both. Yeah. Mostly the other guys teaching Novations, more the older guy. I'm kind of newer. There's other people who've been teaching it before me. They teach it on a local model. They teach it on a local model. They teach it with the old school paperwork, which I don't believe in. They teach it. That's the way they're teaching. Almost like partnering with the seller. And I reinvented all that. And so, but it works at a local model. Absolutely. And it works where you can, if you wanted to partner with the seller and do a fix and flip type strategy on that house, you absolutely could do that. It's just not the way I wanted to do it. I wanted it to be scalable, just like my wholesaling business was. And I wanted to be able to do it nationwide, so that was never restricted by the market. And so, yeah,
I think that's a very insightful comment. And I've talked about this in the larger kind of context of ads for sellers, right? But if you think about like how, hey, my lead generation funnel to deal funnel or whatever, that's all a big system. And it's like one of the sort of truisms of process improvement is every system has a bottleneck, right? There's always a point that kind of limits the output of the system. If you're in a really small market, ultimately, it's always going to be the number of sellers that you could possibly work with. If you expand to, let's say, the country or whatever, or whatever environment gets you to the point where there are more leads than you could ever possibly deal with, then the only limit on what your system produces is your budget, right? You turn your budget up, you get more, you turn it down, you get less. I mean, it's nice to have a volume diet.
That's why I love PPC. PPC is beautiful for that reason. It's unlimited leads if you really want it.
Yeah. And it's, I think too, just to kind of piggyback on what you're saying, I think particularly now, and we won't have to go down this rabbit hole, but I think for a variety of technological reasons, going after larger markets, particularly national markets, has really gotten a boost. There's a whole bunch of algorithmic bidding strategies that Google has that work very well now. With more data you feed it, the smarter it gets. So the bigger markets tend to also get a pretty significant cost efficiency boost, which doesn't mean you can't do it locally. I mean, obviously people do that every day, but I do think that there's, just like there's downsides, there's pretty significant upside to doing it the way that you're doing it as well. So let me ask you about targeting real quick. The sort of ideal lead for a novation.
Yep.
Is it the same motivated seller that most wholesalers are going after? Is it like Mr. We buy ugly houses, sell my house fast?
9 times out of 10,
audience?
yes. 9 times out of 10, yes. It's the same seller that you're going after. You just didn't realize you can novate that deal.
Yeah.
The seller needs to sell or wants to sell. It is contingent on 3 things. If the seller needs their money now and they're that motivated where like they need the money in 2 weeks or the house is getting sold in auction, even though we've overcome that problem and we've delayed the auction by calling the bank, but they need the money in 2 weeks and it's the only way that they're going to get the deal done, then yeah, we can't do that with a novation. That has to be a cash sale, and that's got to be a damn quick cash sale.
Yeah.
So that's one. We need time. Time could be a killer. And that second thing, the time we can kind of tweak a little bit and play with. The second thing, this is a deal killer. You have to have this, and this is access. If you cannot get access to the property, deal is dead. You got to wholesale it. If you're going to wholesale it, you better get it deep, real deep, because buying sight unseen is not happening in this market anymore. I used to buy sight unseen 3 years ago, 2 years ago. I would do it here in Phoenix because it was the kind of market we're in.
Yeah.
Now, the buying sight unseen, you better get that thing so deep, it's not funny. And it won't work for novations. Sight unseen, you have to have access. Multiple access, preferably. You can get it done with 1 or 2. I've gotten it done before with 2, but multiple times, because you got to get buyers in there with realtors, you got to get inspectors in there, and you got to get the appraiser in there. So access, deal killer if it doesn't happen. So you got time, access. The last thing, this one, it's questionable. I used to say that this was a deal killer, but not no more. Property needs to be livable. Livable meaning that somebody can come in and just live in it as is, the way the condition it sits in. But I've novated some. I've bent that rule where I've novated some stuff that wasn't really livable.
Well, it depends who we're talking about, right? Like me in my 20s, my early 20s, like a problem.
Yeah, because what's livable to one person, if they're buying conventional, it has to be conventional now, 20% down.
Yeah.
Was livable to one person, to another person, maybe it is not. And maybe there's somebody who is going to maybe live in it, he's very handy, and he's able to fix up the property for a month before he moves in. You just don't know the situation of your buyer. So don't underestimate the property. I've learned that. I used to be like, if it's not livable, don't put it in the MLS. We're not going to novate it. We're going to wholesale it. But now we're just novating everything.
What about the pitch to the seller? So the seller lead
easy.
Yeah. So how does that differ from like a traditional wholesale?
The same way you're going to pitch creative financing. You always lead with cash, and you lead deep with cash, where you're almost insulting them and you're offending them. And then when they say no to you, you want them to say no to you, which is kind of weird. You want them to say no to you, and then you come in with what's called the concierge service offer. You're going to come save the day now with your concierge service offer, which is Novation offer, to loop them in to that. And even if they agree to your cash offer, what you do is after you send the paperwork, you send the Novation paperwork, you add an additional $5,000, or depending on the price point of the property. Say the property, you locked it up for 100, so maybe you send the paperwork at $105,000, and you go, hey, we have this new concierge service program, and you're fully transparent with them what you're doing, where you're going to sell to a third-party buyer, you need access to the property, and you're just fully transparent. And you say, and if we do this, we can get you an additional $5,000 more. Are you interested in doing this program instead of doing let's just buying for cash? Right. 9 times out of 10, they're going to take it. They're going to take the bait, and they take the the extra cash, and then you novate it. And that's how a lot of times we got our properties locked up too, is just by offering them a little bit more money, even when they agreed to the cash offer. But now you just, you got to offer so low on cash, to make it work. Most of the times you're offending them, and then you're just coming in with the concierge service offer, and that's what they end up taking. So being fully transparent how the process works.
So it's almost like we both know, and I think people are listening to this, right? You get that the market has really shifted. There's a period of true insanity for any house that went on the market would sell for like twice what it was worth or whatever. I mean, it was just really.
I know. I got to flip through that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, a lot of people had a lot of fun. Now it seems like we're in this sort of transitional period where the housing market is not that way anymore, but it does kind of feel like some people still expect it to be that way, right? They think they're like, well, now I'm ready to sell. I should get X amount because, well, my friend sold 6 months ago for X amount.
Well, right. Well, your sellers aren't in tune with the economy the way you are. You're a business owner. You're an investor. You're in tune on what's going on around you in macroeconomics. Your typical seller is not. Your guy who works 9 to 5, who just lost his car because he can't pay his car note or whatever, or maybe he just got laid off. He's not in tune with the economy, what's going on. He just knows his neighbor sold for $250 6 months ago.
Yeah.
That's all he knows. He doesn't know. He doesn't know what's going on in the real estate market. Not really. I mean, maybe if you're lucky, maybe he's watching his home price on Zillow go down over the last 6 months. Maybe, right? But still. But they're not the same as me and you.
And if you're a motivated seller, right? A lot of times you don't even know you're going to be selling 6 months from now, right? A lot of times it's typically or whatever. So that initial offer, that sort of deep cut cash offer, it serves to create the contrast with the Novation offer. Because you juxtapose the two side by side, it makes the Novation offer look that much better.
Yes, it makes it way more attractive. Exactly. And they understand why we can pay a little bit more with, needing some additional time and needing the access to the property. So like it's a give and get, right? They're going to give a little bit, but they're going to get this for giving. Now they're going to give me a little bit of my terms, and I'm going to give them in return a little bit more money.
So you're an investor, you've got a business, you're doing flips, you're doing wholesaling, you're doing novations, right? So you have this like really broad swath of things that you do. If you're talking to another real estate investor and you're trying to convince them that they should think about adding novations into their sort of exit strategy portfolio or whatever, what are the biggest advantages to you as the business owner to do novations in the first place? Like, why take on the extra, whatever? Is it time to learn it, or I got to add something to my process or whatever? Why should I go through that?
Monetize more deals is the main reason why, right? To make money on more of your leads that you're already paying for out of your PPC marketing, or maybe it's SEO you've got nurturing for the last year, so you have time invested, but you're monetizing more leads. You're getting more deals done, and especially when you're in a market that is uncertain, where right now people are thinking, oh, the real estate market's not, I think we're done with the carnage. I don't think so. I think we got more carnage to come. And with novations, you can kind of like coast through that carnage because there's always going to be retail buyers. No matter what, you have retail buyers. Even in the 1980s, when the interest rates were at 19%, you still had some retail out there buying houses. And so it's going to be the same way again, where your cash buyers could dry up even more than they are now. I mean, right now, we have already seen the hedge funds stop buying. We see the bigger operations that are, fix and flip operations kind of dry up. I haven't fixed and flipped since the beginning of 2022. I closed my last house, I think it was March of 22. So we're a year in from my last fix and flip. And so I'm not going to be buying anytime soon. And there's a lot of people like me who will be waiting on the sidelines before they pick up their next fix and flip. So you need other exit strategies. And it doesn't have to be, it should be novations, but it doesn't need to only be novations. It needs to be novations, sub 2, seller finance, lease options. You need to have all the little tricks in your tool belt to pull out to see which one fits the seller's best situation.
Yeah.
And that's the idea, where I specialize in novations, but you get other people who specialize in seller financing. Like my good buddy, Brandon Simmons, specializes in seller financing and lease options. Another guy who does lease options, John Jackson, to just spit out some names. Like that's their niche. That's what they specialize in. And so as a good investor going through uncertain times, don't be a one-trick pony. This is the time where you kind of do have to be a jack of all trades a little bit and be like, okay, which one is the right fit for this seller? Because your cash offer business, I wouldn't rely. It might be doing okay still, but I would not rely just on that. It's good to have other tricks or tools in the tool belt, if you will.
Yeah.
Want to find motivated seller leads online, but don't know where to start? Download our free Motivated Seller Keyword Report today. AdWords nerds have spent over $5 million this year researching the most profitable keywords for finding motivated seller leads. And you can grab these exact keywords when you download our report at www.adwordsnerds.com/keywords.
And I think that feeds back very directly into the PPC strategy and really any marketing strategy. I'll talk about ads because that's what I do, but it could be anything, right? Because ultimately, when you are competing for leads online, you're competing for other people that are trying to pay to get those leads. And if you can pay on average, let's say 10 to 20% more than your competitors because you closed 10 to 20% more, or you make 10 to 20% more, over time, you will eat that market. Like that is what will happen. You will eat that market because you will close more often. You'll have more money in the bank, right? I mean, it's a virtuous cycle. I think the other thing too, and you kind of hinted at this, but I think right now, talking to investors every day, one of the biggest challenges that they face is not necessarily even getting deals. It's disposing of them, right? It's dispositions. It's selling the deal to someone else. That is the bottleneck for a lot of folks. And so just having a way of saying, hey, I'm not reliant on just going to my buyer's list every single time. And that strikes me as an incredibly powerful addition to the kind of traditional investing business. I mean, it just seems amazing.
Yeah. It did wonders for us in 2022. That's for sure.
I mean, I can't. So, all right. So I could talk about, we're coming up on time. I don't want to keep you super late.
You're good, man. You're good too. I can wait. I can push a few minutes off. No problem.
So let's go. We'll start wrapping it up. What is next for you? Because obviously you got this thing. You've been doing Novation. I mean, your story is like amazing, right?
Well,
so
get ready for the story to take another hard left turn.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's like, is that so? Here's the thing.
Get ready for it. So
dolphin training, right? What is so tell, well, actually, here's a good transition. I'll be a good host. Here's a good transition. Tell me a little bit about Novation Nation. So you talked about, you developed custom, like sort of your contract and everything.
So we have the Novation Nation course, and it's just how it sounds. It's just a course. It has all the paperwork that you need that I paid my attorney to draft up, that I've used in almost every single state across the United States. Works like a charm. Now, obviously, I'm not an attorney, so I'm always going to tell you, have your attorney review the paperwork, but it worked great for me, right? And it still works great. Like I have no problem using that paperwork. So I would also be very leery, guys, if you're thinking about learning Novations, just be careful. Don't buy into people who are using power of attorneys. Don't buy into people who are telling you to collect the seller's proceeds. This is a very dangerous area where you're collecting the seller's money. How's that going to stand up in a court of law? And then you sign the final deed. Man, if you ever get sued for real estate fraud, that's going to look ugly. So be careful who you learn this model from. It can be tricky. I'm not saying that I'm perfect by any stretch of the measures. I am not, but I've paid a lot of money to attorneys who are a lot better at this stuff than I am. And there could be even holes that he has in there, but we've done a crap ton of deals with his paperwork. So we have the Novation Nation. It's got the paperwork. It's got a bunch of videos, me explaining how we do these deals, how we talk to the seller. We got the scripts in there and how we pitch it to the seller. I have recorded calls from my acquisition guys in there talking to the sellers, and how we list it, how we find the realtors in these local markets to list our Novation deals, how, some common problems and pitfalls that you're going to fall into, because you will, promise you, doing these deals. And so that's what it is. So very simple course. It's good. And then we have the mastermind that's focused around the Novation Nation too. But that's the Novation Nation stuff. So
I love it.
Yeah. So
I think here's the other thing. I mean, for folks that are listening to this, and like this has been something, Novation's been something, I mentioned this before. It's like I really wanted to learn about. And you came very highly recommended as like the person to learn about this from. But here's the thing I didn't know before that I know now, which is Corey Geary is someone who moves fast and breaks things. Like you said, he gets his head cracked open, figuring out how to do stuff. And you, as the person who's listening to this, you get to just benefit from that. You don't have to go and do that yourself. You can go and look, we know, right? You said you have a high risk tolerance, but even you said like, hey, these other ways to do this, these are very risky. So like, listen, just take the advice from the man. He gets it. He did it himself. You get to learn from those mistakes, learn those lessons. Man, what an amazing way to learn something.
And use the right paperwork. The paperwork is 99% of the whole strategy. Like getting that right and understanding the paperwork. You want to understand it too. You just want to just have someone give it to you. You want to know what each instrument does and how it protects you and how it protects the seller or the buyer and what it, that's what it's good for.
Well, all right. So if people want to go check this out, again, highly recommended. You can go to Novation Nation, Novation. So novationnation.com. You know, check out everything there. So Corey Geary, so for people who want to learn more about you, I think you mentioned people can find you on Facebook. Do you do social media? Where's a good place for people to look you up?
So yeah, the best place is social media. Corey Geary on Facebook, the Corey Geary on Instagram are the two best spots. And I'm also on YouTube. I have a podcast Monday through Friday, but that is on the new thing I am doing now.
What's the podcast called?
It is called Crypto Millionaires with Corey Geary.
Oh, we didn't even I wrote it down. We didn't even get to crypto.
We can for 10 minutes. We got 15 minutes. We got 15 minutes. I'll give you an overview.
Hard right turn. We're coming back into the thing. All right, we got 10 minutes. I want to cover this. Okay, so I've had crypto people on the show before. I think I'll typically introduce myself and say, like, I'm very interested in crypto as a technology. I don't personally do, like, I dollar cost average into Ethereum for like a year or whatever, right? So I'm not like heavily invested in crypto, but I
should be doing it now. Well, right now.
So I wanted to ask you, man, that it has been absolutely insane to watch what happened to crypto over the last, because like I first learned about crypto, let's say like 6 years ago or something, right? And like what has happened over the last like 2 or 3 years has been absolutely nuts. So I would love your take on what is the state of, this is a huge question. You can take it wherever.
What has happened over the last year and a half? It happens every single market cycle during the bear market. Yeah. Every single time you have a collapse, a complete collapse, and where everything just melts down. And that's what we saw in 2022 with the FTX and with everything else, with BlockFi, with what is it called? Luna and the UST token that collapsed. All that was part of the bear market. And as markets have a way of flushing out bad actors and people with their pants down, right? People when the waves go out, when the water goes out, who has their pants down? The markets have a way of flushing those guys out. And that's what we've seen the last like year and a half. The last Bitcoin top was November of 2021. And something you want to learn to do, if you want to get into crypto, you need to learn and study the market cycles. It's all about market cycles. Crypto works on 4-year market cycles. It revolves completely around the Bitcoin halving. The Bitcoin halving happens when you have a year to a year and a half of bull market. After you have a blow off top, you have a year to year and a half of bear market. And after you hit some kind of bottom, which we're at right now, we're at some kind of bottom. We might have one more leg down. We hit 15,000 in BTC. We might go down to 9K. That's my opinion, but I could be wrong. We could have already bottomed, but it will go year to year and a half. The next Bitcoin halving is in March of 2024. When the Bitcoin halving happens in March of 24, the bull market will return. Not only do you have that, but by that time, the economy will probably be turning around. The interest rates will probably be they'll be letting off the gas with that. You have the presidential elections in 2024. There's a lot of things lining up to show a super cycle coming in 24. And I'll give you a little bit of synopsis of my crypto journey. I got in crypto in 21. I bought the market top like everyone else. That's how everyone gets into crypto. We're exit liquidity. I once again jumped into something not understanding how it works, and I got wrecked. I lost over 6 figures in the beginning of my crypto journey.
Wow.
Yeah, I was exit liquidity.
This is your story, man. I find this so fast.
Over and over and over and over. Yeah, I can't just learn my lesson. And
well, no, here's the thing. You do it in the most painful way, but you really learn.
I learn it.
Like, this is the thing. You don't like book learn it. You like learn it. And again, most people, when they lost money in crypto, they were like, then that's it. They're gone.
They're like
Ponzi. Yeah. You have a podcast. So it's like,
we have a podcast.
Yeah,
well,
again,
I'm also, it gets deeper than that.
Yeah.
It gets deeper than that.
I want to hit me.
In 2022, while I was doing real estate during the daytime, I was staying up to 2 and 3 in the morning, learning the space, crypto. I was joining masterminds. I hired a private mentor. I started going to events. I started treating crypto the same way I treated real estate.
Yeah.
Well, in 2022, I built up such a freaking massive portfolio that I basically don't have to do anything ever again if I want.
Wow. Holy moly.
I have wound down the majority of my acquisitions in my real estate business because what my crypto portfolio does now. I spit off massive passive income in my portfolio. We buy projects that are like companies on the blockchain. They spit out dividends, if you will, stock dividends, same kind of thing, which is crypto dividends, where it's in DeFi, though. It's decentralized finance. So there's no CEO that runs the company. There is no Sam Bankman-Fried like FTX, and the community owns it. And so that's how a lot of the passive income comes from, was from projects like that. And right now, man, is the perfect time to dollar cost average in, because you're over the course of 2023. This is the sideways action that we always look at. This is when smart money is getting in. BlackRock started buying 1 month ago. BlackRock, the same BlackRock that's in real estate, is in crypto now, and they started buying a month ago. What does that tell you? This smart money is getting in now. And so you want a dollar cost average in now, and then hold. And I can tell this to your audience. If you just go to CoinMarketCap, now this is not what we do, but you could do this to make it easy. And you bought the 5 top cryptocurrencies in CoinMarketCap. Bitcoin, Ethereum, it could even be Dogecoin, it could be Shiba Inu, just the top ones, right? ADA, you buy the top ones right now over the course of 2023, dollar cost average in, never just go all in. You want a dollar cost average because we can't time bottoms and we can't time tops.
Right.
And so you dollar cost average in, you hold, sell in 2025, you'll make millions of dollars.
All right, man. Okay. I just wrote it down. I wrote it out. It's on my list of things to do to start this back up again.
We did create a group that teaches real estate entrepreneurs how to do crypto the right way, to do crypto the safe way.
Yeah.
So besides the podcast, we have a group too. And if your viewers are interested in the group, they can schedule a call with me or my partner, Dane, and then we can get on and talk about the group and see if they're the right.
Where should they? Because I want to put a link to it so everybody could get the links to all this stuff in the show notes. So Paul, that you could go to.
The name of the group is called DeFi Crypto Alliance. I own the URL. Well, it'll be linked up here in the next few days. Okay. So DeFi Crypto Alliance. If they want to, like I said, they reach out to me during social medias too. Any of the social medias, you can reach out to me and inquire about it and point them in the right direction. But yeah, that would be the URL that we have right now.
All right. So listen, we've talked about so much stuff here.
I know. It's fun.
A billion things going on. Look up Corey Geary. So Geary is spelled Geary. You can find the Corey Geary on Instagram, Corey Geary on Facebook. We already talked about NovationNation.com.
Novation Nation, baby.
Oh man, you got so much stuff going on. Dude, thank you so much for sharing your story, man. I find it really, really amazing. You've got such a fascinating take. And I got to admit, man, like, I know you said like earlier, like, I was doing this like sort of the wrong way. But I really admire your commitment to just acting on stuff. Like as an overthinker, right? As an overthinker, there's a lot to be said about that approach. So I just want to say, thank you so much.
Sometimes. Oh man, I'm just like,
I appreciate you sharing your point of view. Thank you for coming on the show, man. This was awesome. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate it, Dan. Thank you so much. Truly blessed and honored to be here.
That is it. That's it for our interview this week. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, I know I enjoyed making it. Look, if you could give us a review wherever you get your podcasts, I would really appreciate it. I read every single one. It helps other people find the show. And look, I won't lie to you, okay? It's just going to make me feel good. So just do me a solid. Leave me a review wherever you get this podcast. I really appreciate it. I appreciate you. Have an awesome week, everybody, and I will see you next week.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.